Consciousness is not a new concept. It is not something we just discovered. It's there in our scriptures, in our deeper understanding of life, in our subjective experiences. It is just not part of our scientific language. It is not part of our, to be even more specific, it is not part of the language of physics. Or to be even more precise, it is a part of it, but we use different words. We call it observer effect. We say a wave, when it's observed, becomes a particle. What are we talking about? We're talking about dream and reality. And we're talking about the observer. It's the exact same thing we're talking about. Everything is a dream. Now, when we say something is a wave, what does it mean? It simply means there is no one physical place this thing is occupying. It's waving. But it has no reality of its own. It's like saying waves are real, but actually they're not. The ocean is real. Waving is a phenomenon. In reality, waves don't exist. Waves only exist as a phenomenon. There has to be an observer. In exactly the same way, light exists as a non-physical entity. Actually, without the observer, there is no light at all. The moment the observer comes in, it becomes something. There is no real fundamental difference between dreams and light. Light is almost one dimension lower than dreams. It's exactly the same. When a dream is observed, that observation drops it from being a four-dimensional entity to three-dimensional. A higher dimensional experience. A thought is a higher dimensional experience. You can't see thought, you can't touch it, you can't capture it, but you know it's real. That means it is higher dimensional. That's a classic definition of higher dimension. Something, you know it's there, but you can't really capture it. Because when you capture it, what happens? Its quality changes. It has to drop one dimension. Now, that is exactly what we refer to as collapse of the wave function. In a very technical term, the very process of observing and turning a dream into a reality for that moment is what we call collapsing of the wave function through the observer effect. It's exactly the same. But the other language is more useful because it's more defined. The language we generally use is more subjective. But there's hardly any separation. We're talking about the exact same thing. We're talking about an observer. We're talking about a non-physical entity being perceived as something physical. That's the definition of reality itself. Consciousness is the observer, which is independent of the body, independent of all physical experiences. In fact, all physical experiences are experiences within consciousness. Consciousness itself is just pure awareness. And to describe it in more scientific terms, it is simply a dimension where everything is connected. It is an existential totality. Space is basically a perceptual limitation within consciousness. When my thoughts are obstructed because I'm trying to focus on something, when I focus on something, the natural definition of focusing is I have to ignore what I am not focusing. So I'm doing something unnatural. Focusing itself is an unnatural act. Awareness is natural. This is why we struggle with kids to make them focus, because it is not natural. Because they are in their dream world, just going through all the experiences. Focusing is really not necessary. It has to be taught. That's the whole training of how do you not get distracted. To be distracted is our natural state. When we focus on something, we are turning that moment into something real. That act of focusing. There is consciousness. Imagine it as a pure light source. And if you keep an object in front of it, there is a shadow. Now, who created the shadow? Did the light create it? Did that object create it? Or did it just happen? It just happened. That is why everything we experience in life is a happening. It is not a doing. Your body is not a doing. It's a happening. Why is it not a doing? Why can't we create a body? With all our scientific understanding of life, why haven't we created a single living cell that can function autonomously on its own, which has not been created using another cell? Because we know all the processes, mechanically we define everything. We know where this is happening, that is happening, but why can't we create a cell? Because we cannot create the entity that animates the cell. We can create all the physical parts, but we can't pour life into it. Because life is, it's not something that comes and goes. Life is existence. Consciousness is existence, which is a higher dimension. Form is a lower dimensional projection. That is why we can replicate form, but we cannot replicate life. We can take another 1,000,000 years. We will not create life. We can only make it happen. We just have to know the conditions and we simply play around it. Life is not something separate. It is existence itself. It is a higher dimension within which we are having this lower dimensional experience. Light is real. Shadow is a projection. For the shadow, it is real. For our body, body is real. For our daily experiences are real. But compared to the light, it's not real. It's exactly the same way. All our ideas of life, our spiritual concepts, theories, philosophies, they're all real for the body that is experiencing it, talking about it, thinking about it. But when you measure it against awareness, they all are transient, flowing things that are not permanent. Then what is permanent? The only thing that is permanent is this experience of I amness. I am. That cannot be denied, that cannot be taken away. I'm going through the experience of life. I'm doing many different things, but I am. Ultimately, that is our resting place. Restlessness is our nature now. So the choice is very simple. How to get rid of this restlessness? Because that restlessness is what leads to stress, what leads to anxiety, uncertainty, fear, everything. How do we get to rest? It is to come to the now. It is to come to the present moment and be in awareness. Now, this requires practice. This requires effort, conscious effort. The only way to be conscious is to be conscious. You cannot trick it. Everything else we do in life, there are alternatives. The same destination, you can either go this way or you can go that way. That's the mind. You can go to the same place in two different ways. But in consciousness, it's one place that you can go in only one way. To know consciousness, you have to be conscious. To know awareness, you have to be aware. To know the present moment, you have to be in the present moment. To know life, you have to be life. You cannot think about it. You cannot talk about it. You cannot create models. Yes, all those are useful. Scientific language and scientific modeling of existence is fantastic. It gives us at least something to connect all our experiences to make things better for us collectively, which is a slow, gradual process which will continue to happen. But for us individuals, there is a shortcut. We don't have to wait for technology to completely transform the world, remove fear, remove anger, create great equality. That is what we keep dreaming for. That is our pursuit in all our political ambitions, social ambitions. We want a world where everything is beautiful. We can wait for it. If it is supposed to happen, it will happen sometime in the future. But the reality is now. The reality of the situation is we are living in a very complex world. Judgments, opinions, fears, egos. So how do we deal with this now? Technology will help in its own way. Science will help in its own way. And that is why it is there. If it's not helpful, we would have discarded it. It exists because it is helpful in its own way. But for the individual, we need something more immediate. Direct path is to exercise your choice to be. It's actually that simple. That's your fundamental reality, and that is the hardest thing to hold on to. It is very easy to become than to be. But we are human beings, not human becomings. We have to be. Then we can become something. To be and to become is beautiful. Because in all the becoming, we are. Then nothing is insignificant. Your beingness will bring that significance to even the dullest, most mundane things you're doing. Because there's nothing dull in life. Dullness is when you are not there. When you think about an experience devoid of you, that is the dullest moment. Where I am not there. It's just happening. It's very dull. But when I am there, I could be doing something others might see as totally idiotic or totally useless. But it just doesn't matter. I am doing it because my presence is there. I'm aware of it. I'm enjoying it. That is my moment with life. And that's the only thing that matters. So